The main stand is brought to you by Saltire Energy, who continue to lead the way in the oil industry. By Lux Scott, a jet-class luxury vehicle company. If you're looking to travel anywhere in style, I suggest you look these guys up. And to my new sponsor, Fowler & Mackenzie, formed in 2001, longest established CalZip standing seam system in Scotland. There for all your roofing and cladding needs. What an unbelievable last few days it has been. Was in Aberdeen over last weekend and it was just brilliant. Had an amazing time at the Joe Harper and Frank McDougall gig. And then on Saturday at Pittodrie, in and around Pittodrie, where so many of you came over and said hi. I came away from Aberdeen, honestly, feeling 10 feet tall. I was so flattered by so many of your kind comments about what we're doing here on the YouTube channel. And how many of you told me how often you watch and how much you enjoy watching. So to begin tonight, I'm giving a shout out to you guys, but I have to take a moment to thank Phil Mackenzie at Fowler & Mackenzie, who has just come on board and has sponsored the channel and has seen what I'm trying to do, has bought into the idea and is going to help me going forward. And while I'm at it, I would also like to thank Jim Balfour and Charles Craig, who recently became members of Ali Beg ABTV, who have also subscribed. And we're now starting to build a community of members here on the channel as well. And honestly, I'm blown away. I can't thank you enough, and my gratitude is up here. And I really hope I'm coming across sincere, because you've got no idea how much this means. And honestly, it's just been the best few days. I told my wife earlier about what's happened today, and she nearly started crying. And it's, you know, we've had a tough time over the past couple of years, like so many of you have as well. You know, we lost our jobs. We had to move. We had to upheave the kids, and it was a huge worry. And we're starting to see light at the end of the tunnel. And that's down basically to you guys. And I only felt it was right to start tonight's show by saying a huge thank you, because we're getting there. And our spirits have been lifted so much by you. So thank you. Hi, how you doing? Honestly, I've not been this happy since Belinda Carlisle came over and introduced herself to me at the Radio 1 Roadshow back in 1993. Belinda Carlisle, no less. So here we are. It's Friday night. This is a brand new magazine-style type of show where we're going to be looking back at the week's events at Pittodrie and basically what's been going on in and around the football club. Later, I'm going to be joined by Scottish football correspondent from The Times, journalist Michael Grant. Michael and I talk about all the gossip, online gossip and newspaper gossip about what's been coming out of the football club. And a little bit later, I'm going to be joined by Terry McDermott, lead singer of Lotus Crush, who found fame on The Voice US a few years ago. And also from Noel Blaha, who is from American Dons Aberdeen FC supporters Facebook group. And Terry and Noel were both at the game in Atlanta earlier this week. So we caught up about the whole event, spoke about the game and other things. And I have to thank Noel, because Noel has provided me with lots of content, which I'm actually going to be able to bring you tonight. Now, unfortunately, I can't bring you the goal. I'm not allowed. So it's the only place to start is by looking back at what was an absolutely phenomenal event for all these supporters who attended the game against Atlanta United. I actually thought it was a really worthwhile exercise. It was great to see Jack Milne get a start for the boys and to see the other 8 young lads who all played their part. And it was great to see so many Aberdeen fans who had travelled from literally all over the world to come and watch the team play. I got to be honest, it wasn't the best of games. I was a little bit disappointed that it was played on AstroTurf. But I tell you what I did thoroughly enjoy was the commentary from Atlanta United media team. I thought the commentary was a breath of fresh air and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you guys did who watched it at home because it really was absolutely magnificent. This is the post-game event that happened in the hub after, where all the fans got to meet the players, the backroom staff, and everybody had an absolutely brilliant time. So well done to Atlanta for putting the gig on, and also to the football club for organising the event during the World Cup. This is what Jim actually had to say after the game. I think it's very beneficial for them to be here with us. He's talking about the young players. I watch a lot of the under-18s and speak with Barry Robson and his guys regularly about the development of these guys. I watch as many games as I can at Cormack Park. It's a great experience for these guys. The young lads that went on helped improve the game, and that's the biggest compliment I can pay them. What did you think? So tonight, get in touch. We are live, so feel free to leave your messages on the YouTube site, and what we'll do as the night merrily rolls along, I will do my best to read out as many of your comments as I can. This week has been an interesting week at the football club, especially when it comes to the news that has been thrown around social media and some of the newspapers. So I thought what I would do is I would jump on with Scottish football correspondent Michael Grant, who also wrote the fabulous book Fergie Rises, and we discussed all the topics that came out of Pittodrie this week. Here's Michael. Hi, Michael. Welcome to the show. Thank you for jumping on, as always. So a few things to get through from this past week. Let's start with the Atlanta friendly game. I know you watched it. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I thought it was fine, Ali. It was a good exercise, which is really all that the club and Jim Goodwin were looking for. Bit of a shame it wasn't in the Mercedes-Benz Arena, I think it's called, isn't it?
Yeah.
Atlanta's fabulous stadium. It would have been fun for us to see that. It would have been fun for the players to play there. The setting was obviously quite low key. I made it about 4 of the kind of usual starters started for us, and McCrory, Clarkson, Coulson, and Duke. So it was a kind of mixed team, wasn't it? You know, of young lads, maybe kind of players just on the periphery of the team, and 3 or 4 regulars. Obviously, some of them were away on international duty. So yeah, I thought it was fine, and I'm sure Jim Goodwin would have taken something from it.
Yeah. Okay. So on Wednesday, the big news for me that came out in the newspapers in particular was obviously about our new stadium, where, and I quote, that the council leaders have said Aberdeen bosses would have to dig into their own pockets to fund what is this new stadium at the beach, which is reported to have cost £80 million. It basically emerged on Wednesday that council leaders had rolled out helping the club. Are we back to square one already?
Looks that way, Ali, doesn't it? And I mean, this is square one that's been going for nearly a quarter of a century when you think about it. I mean, you know, they first talked seriously about leaving Pittodrie in 1999. You know, and we've rebounded around various sites in the city, or on the outskirts of the city, in fact. And now it does look like we're almost back to square one. Now, this will come down to whether Dave Cormack and other senior figures at the club still feel that they can negotiate with the council, or whether what we heard this week was a kind of final position. I'm not sure that it is. I mean, I'm seeing stories that the councillors may be split on how much, or if any, financial support should be going to the club. I get it. I get that times are hard. I get that public money especially right now, has to be accountable. Every penny is a prisoner. There are a lot of social priorities, and it's not easy to just say a football club should get money. But nor do I think the council should just be blanketly saying, you're a football club, you're a private business, we're not helping. I think Aberdeen Football Club is more important to the city than that. I mean, if you think about it, what other expression of civic pride in Aberdeen would draw 80,000, 90,000, 100,000 people onto Union Street like winning a cup does for the football team? So I don't think it's as simple as saying you're a private company, we're not going to help. I think the council has a responsibility, if it can, to do more than that.
When I was home recently, I decided to take a walk down Union Street because I hadn't taken a walk down there for a long time. And I've been hearing and reading about the regeneration of that particular street as well, and where it sort of hit a crossroads. And I have to be honest, Michael, I was shocked. I was really shocked at how it has fallen by the wayside. Union Street for me was the hub of the city. It was so full of different characters, different shops, a great place to be for going out on a Saturday night, for being there with your parents. And now it's fallen to such a sad state of repair that I really hope that the council and the football club, as the Chamber of Commerce suggested, they come together. At least I hope they come together and open the narrative, keep the discussions going. Is that the least we can expect?
Absolutely, Ali, and I completely agree with you about how Union Street has kind of looked neglected and it just looks a bit cheap, doesn't it? I mean, this street itself is still brilliant, in terms of the size and the scale of it.
Sure.
But in terms of the shops and the offices are there, it looks pretty run down. I think a massive regeneration of the city centre and the beachfront area is essential. And to me, a football stadium would be a massive part of that, and would bring great energy and excitement and people, closer into the city centre. And I can only hope that this isn't a council's final position on this, and it's still working to see what it can do, because the club is not going to be able to afford this on its own. I think that much is obvious, and we've seen that over the decades, that if Aberdeen had the money, they would have built a stadium by now. But we're already at least a decade beyond when they were hoping to get into a new ground. I mean, probably more than that. And it's not quite back to square one, because a lot of work has been done, and negotiations are going on, but it doesn't feel like they're getting any closer to actually breaking ground on a new stadium.
Yeah, I guess all we can do is watch this space. One of the more interesting stories that I read this week was where our captain, Anthony Stewart, gave an interview about the perils of social media and how he was encouraging the younger generation of players that's trying to break through to be very wary and very conscious of social media. I have to say, I was hugely impressed by his message, because I'm sure you'll agree, Michael, that social media can be a very dangerous place. It can be a very toxic place, but it can also be a fantastic place, a wonderful place, if it's used in the correct manner. But I have to say, and I hope you agree, that I was hugely impressed that he came out and said what he said.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's what you would look for a captain and a senior player to do. I would hope that the club itself, the management and other senior staff at the club are also kind of giving that message especially to the younger players. I mean, you look at, Connor Barron, Jack McKenzie, Leighton Clarkson, Duke, Vinny, they're all quite young lads, 22 and under. And of course the youth team players as well. That, mental health is a serious issue, and it can be undermined by social media criticism that players do get. We all see the criticism that they get, and that's without us actively searching their names. We can still see who's getting pelters. And I mean, you're right, they do get a lot of love and positivity when it's going well. So it's a case of picking your moments to use it, and to listen. There are other social media sites, and they can use it for other things. Sure. But I think there is a danger to it when they're looking at how they are being interacted with by supporters, because it can be pretty hostile and pretty toxic at times.
The only thing I've always advocated, particularly with younger players, and if I've been in the company of younger players, which I've been very fortunate to be throughout my career, particularly in sports broadcasting, is I've always said to them, don't base your success on how many followers you get on social media, because I've seen some who fall into that trap. I've always said to them, base your success on how many first team you play, how many honours you win, and how many caps you win for your country. Do you agree or disagree?
No, I do agree. I think also though social media is kind of all pervasive, and any young guys of their age are going to be on social media sites, and it's difficult to say to them just don't do it,
Yeah.
keep away from it.
Yeah.
But their pals aren't going to be getting the kind of stick that they can get when they're playing poorly or the team is playing poorly, and it can become a bit of a scattergun. I mean, it was Anthony Stewart, I think, if I read it correctly, said that he occasionally finds it tough himself. Now he's been at Wycombe for 10 years. He's 30-year-old. I'm guessing he's probably never really experienced the level of kind of criticism that you can get when you're at Aberdeen when things go badly, because it's a bigger club and it's got a bigger fan base and a pretty demanding fan base. So Anthony Stewart, I think, has shown good maturity in terms of how he is approaching social media, and he's showing leadership here, I think, in terms of giving advice to the younger boys.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, just to finish off, should we, according to reports, brace ourselves for a £4 million bid from Stade de Reims in January for Bojan Majowski?
Well, I don't know, because I don't know whether Reims are going to submit that bid. I think it's one of these ones that we have to kind of take it in two parts. One, we're anxious about it. We don't want to lose him. It feels like he's only been in the door 5 minutes, and we're talking about him potentially leaving in January. But on the other hand, of course, this is evidence of success from him on the pitch, success from the recruitment team. Darren Mowbray has done brilliantly to uncover this guy in Hungarian football. Everything points to him being worth a lot of money to Aberdeen. He's a goal scorer. He's playing international football. Regularly played the other night for Macedonia. He's a good age. He's on a long contract. So all of that confirms that Aberdeen are going to get good money for this guy. And we will have to sell him. There's no question. I think January's too soon. I don't think Majowski would particularly want to jump ship as quickly as that. He is clearly happy in Aberdeen. He said so in an interview he did at the weekend. Whether he's here next season, not sure, because £4 million becomes a big offer to turn down. That's serious money when you're looking at club turnover being around £13-14 million. £4 million is a big deal to come in. But I mean, there might be other clubs that might come in with more than that. Stade Reims are mid-table France in France. Their crowds are probably slightly lower than Aberdeen's. He might be attracted to the idea of going to a top 5 league. Of course he would be, but he might also think he can do better than them. There's going to be interest in him, Ali, because he's joint top scorer in the league with a non-Old Firm club. That makes other potential buyers sit up and take notice. So let's enjoy him while we can, and then make money from him when the time is right to sell.
Fantastic, Michael. Thank you so much for jumping on today. Really appreciate your time as always. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Ali. All the best, mate.
Thank you, Michael, as always, for coming on. Your thoughts, plenty of them coming in tonight. Thank you, as always. Gregor Stevens has said, good evening. Hi, Gregor. How are you? Ben Rose said, hi, Ali. Hi, Ben. How are you? It was great to meet you last week. Hope you're well. Brian McRae said he needs to get to Pittodrie as soon as possible. You do, mate. You really do. It was brilliant last Saturday against Dundee United. I really enjoyed it. Kaiser has come on, and he's now interacting with some of you about the regeneration of Union Street, the new ground. It's really cool to see you guys actually interacting here as well. So, hi Kaiser, how are you? William McKenzie has said, thanks Ali for the welcome message to the newly formed Lewis and Harris Dons Supporters Club. A fantastic bunch of guys and girls over there, and I'm hoping to go over to see them in the new year. And I know that you guys have had some really excellent meetings recently. So keep up the great news. Good evening to one and all. Kaiser said, what a great goal from Clarkson. Unbelievable goal. What a highlight that was. Scottish Susie has said, as I mentioned, I learned more about the players' ages in 20 minutes than the last few months. Great commentary. When we're talking about the commentary that was coming from Atlanta United's media team from the game, I thought they were absolutely brilliant. Kaiser said, we learned Blair McKenzie is 6'7", a giant of a lad. I'm not going to tell you what Jason Campbell said. Scott W has said, I thought we played at 50% in the game, treated it as a training game. To be honest with you, Scott, I think that's all it was. Atlanta played as though their lives depend on it. Some of their tackles were horrific. They were. You could see where Ross McCrory was getting the ump big time. Kaiser has said, Emsley looks a player. He does, mate. Kaiser's gone on to say that he'd rather stay at Pittodrie now. Which is quite interesting. Rod Cow has said, poor from the City Council, acting like there's no shared value to the community in a venture like this shows zero foresight. I completely agree. Scott W has commented about some of the social media stuff. So he said, I've seen some horrific stuff said about players on social media. Don's fans are toxic online. Okay, have a dig at the team if they do poorly, but don't pick out individuals for constant criticism. I completely agree. My thoughts on social media are very simple, and I learnt this very quickly. As I said to Michael, it can be so toxic, and it has become a minefield for some very hateful and spiteful people. I've been on the receiving end of it myself, and there are still some people who, for some reason, don't like the fact that I once worked for Setanta Sports and don't like the fact that I was once in a boy band. That's absolutely fine. I have no issues with it. But what I don't understand is if you've never met me and you make your mind up about me and you judge the cover before you read the book, you've fallen into the trap. And I used to engage with these people, and my wife said to me once, why do you bother? They're just people who hide behind a username and a password, and just let them be. So all I do now is I block. Very simple. If anyone comes on and says anything derogatory or nasty, I just block. Don't engage. I haven't engaged now for about 5 or 6 years, and I feel so much better for it. It can also, on the flip side, be an absolutely fantastic place. It can be hugely beneficial, especially to people like me who use it as a means to try and get the message out about what I'm doing. So it can be fantastic, but I think we have to be very, very careful of the place. Scott Keith has come on and said, hello Scott, great talent coming through, but still need a right back and 2 centre halves. Spend cash and get United's right back, who's a Don and Don's family who loves the club. Keep all your comments coming in. We've got plenty of time tonight. So let's get to Noel Blaha, who was at the game last week, took his family over and is very prominent on social media. He's a huge Aberdeen fan, and I was absolutely delighted to have caught up with him for today's show. Here is Noel. I'm delighted to welcome you, Noel, to Ali Beg ABTV. It's very nice to meet you at long last. Noel is from the Aberdeen Fans Facebook group, who are doing very well on social media. So if you are interested, take a look at their page. They've got some great stuff on there. Noel, I'd like to take you right back to the beginning before we talk about the game last week. How did you become an Aberdeen fan?
I was born into it, like many of your followers and people that'll be viewing this. My dad and mom moved to Aberdeen in 1978. They're both Americans, but my dad actually first came in contact with Aberdeen Football Club in the 1960s, attending Washington Whips matches in Washington, D.C. They were both teachers. They had an opportunity to come teach in the UK, and Aberdeen was one of the options. And my dad, having familiarity with the football club, being a soccer fan in the United States, chose Aberdeen right off the bat. They moved to Aberdeen in 1978, quickly became season ticket holders and members of the Northern Lights supporters group. I was born in 1979. and we lived in Aberdeen basically during the Fergie years. We moved back, they moved back, and I moved to the United States in 1985. So my earliest memories were going with my dad to Pataudry and watching the matches and going to road matches as well. I can remember going to Arbroath and some other different places as well. So born right into it, just like many of the people watching this today.
Good man. Can I ask you about your Facebook group? How's it going? How many members have you got? Are you guys doing okay?
Yeah. It's the American Dons, Aberdeen supporters based in the USA. Basically, just started that to try and connect people in the United States and see where the pockets of folks were. We're up to almost 1,000 members, and it was great to meet some of those people that are followers this week in Atlanta. We've also got some UK based followers as well. So we welcome anybody to join that Facebook page to follow along and give us the insights, wherever they may be throughout the US or even in the northeast of Scotland.
So how was last week? How fantastic was it to, at long last, see the team nearer to your own home?
Yeah, it was. It far exceeded the expectations. The whole day. Many people traveled from far and wide to get there. Our family traveled 6 hours after work on Tuesday evening. Got to the Atlanta area about midnight, and we're ready to go at the brewery at noon on match day. It was absolutely incredible. We met people from as far away as Phoenix and New Orleans, as well as the Peterhead supporters that came over as well, which was really great to see that too. Again, it was just really, it just far exceeded the expectations. The match, not so much. It was a bit of a chippy endeavor and not really what we were all used to seeing as we watch weekly on Red TV. But the post match was out of this world. The team, the back staff, everybody from the chairman to Rob Wicks to his marketing team, it was incredible. And the players, the young boys, were thrilled to have folks coming up and greet them and get autographs. And Joe Lewis was tremendous with the kids. Jack McKenzie was playing foosball with my little boys, and it was great. I mean, the team stuck around for a couple hours, and we were able to full access to them. It was really, really great.
I saw the post that you put up with Joe Lewis playing with your kids. It's just for youngsters who can be put in a situation like that to actually play with their heroes. It's something they'll never forget, Noel, right?
That's right. It might have been only been a couple of hours in their lives, but those memories will last a lifetime. And my older son is actually a goalkeeper himself. So after the match, he went down to the field and asked Joe for his gloves, and Joe was gracious enough to give him his gloves. And then later that night, autographed the gloves for him as well. And it was really, really a special moment for sure. And the club should really be applauded for the efforts that they took to schedule, organize it, and then the players and staffs themselves for their accessibility, their generosity, and just being able to be there really was a thrill of a lifetime for many of the folks that might not be able to get back to Aberdeen and see the team in person.
Yeah, Noel, it's been absolutely fantastic having you on. I'd love to get you on again going forward. So thank you for taking the time. Continue the fantastic work with the Facebook group, and hopefully we'll catch up again soon.
Thanks very much, Ali.
Thank you, Noel, for coming on. It was lovely to meet you. If you haven't subscribed to the channel and you are watching for the very first time, hi, how are you? You are more than welcome. Thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed so far. And we've got plenty still to come tonight. Terry McDermott, huge Aberdeen fan, born and bred in the area, worked at the football club, found fame on The Voice US, where he did unbelievably well, nearly won it, and is now the lead singer of band Lotus Crush, lives in New Orleans. Terry also went to the game last week, so I thought him and I would jump on early this morning for him and have a wee natter. Here's Terry. A very good morning, all the way from New Orleans, fresh from a trip to Atlanta. How are you?
Yeah. I'm good. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm just fine, fella. Just fine. Freezing, but just fine. So, how was the trip?
The trip was an absolute pleasure. I think anyone that was watching the game could tell that it was played at a shall we say, pedestrian pace at times. And you could see that Ross McCrory got a little bit upset when there was a couple of tasty tackles went in because, of course, our players are in the middle of their season. Nonetheless, it was an absolutely fantastic experience. I thought it was tremendous to meet all the players. Obviously, got to meet Stephen Gunn, who I used to work with at Pataudry.
Yeah.
We got to hang out. spoke to Dave Cormack briefly, and very briefly, he was, of course, a man in demand. Generally speaking, from Darren Mowbray down to the last player, they were all just very, very hospitable. They were very kind, and they all took the time to sit and talk. And they seemed to be really enjoying themselves as well. I think they were all enjoying the trip, which I guess at the end of the day is part of the experience, team bonding, etc. I personally got to freak out like a 12-year-old girl at a boy band
concert.
There you go, because I got to meet Duke. So I was pretty excited about that.
Did you?
Yeah, I didn't throw my knickers at him, but it was getting pretty close. So, but no, it was a really, really enjoyable trip. And I have to say, what was very encouraging was how many Americans there were there who were just out and out Aberdeen supporters.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, I think somebody said there was 50 flew over directly from Aberdeen to beat. I mean, which is an awful long way to go, for any amount of people. And then the rest, so there was a few hundred there, and the rest were all from American Aberdeen supporters, and not all of them would have, to anyone's ear, sounded Scottish. I mean, there was a lot of them that were expats that had lived there, most of their life, and they had the strong American accent. Some of their kids had been born in the US or left Aberdeen when they were, very, very small. And here they were, all of them in their tops. They're all part of it, and there was just a real feeling of unity, and it felt like a very important occasion for North American Don supporters.
What about that goal?
He just doesn't do bad goals. It's just not in his DNA. Actually, Darren Mowbray at the after event, he said, "What about Leighton Clarkson?" He said he just does not do bad goals, and otherwise, fairly mundane game, which we expected. Just another moment of genius. I saw your post on Twitter, which was the angle behind the goal, which was we were on the opposite end of that angle, and that really does just capture. The keeper was going nowhere.
Because the camera angles from the Atlanta United television coverage didn't quite capture how much the ball moved in the air from the guy that I sort of retweeted, which I just thought captured it perfectly, the way the ball moved. I know obviously it wasn't hit as well as Paul Scholes against Bradford, I think it was, but still, what a finish. I tell you what, I really hope we can hang on to this kid as long as we can.
Well, I mean, I wish Leighton the absolute very best in his career, but he's a small guy in stature, and I'm sure he and the people around him are aware that he's probably going to have to get a wee bit beefed up if he's going to play in the Premiership. But there is absolutely no doubt that he has the skill to play in the English Premiership. But if he can't get a game down there, I know a team that would really like to hold on to him for. But I think every player had a smile on their face. I sat and spoke to Johnny Hayes for a long time, and he was, they were all just intimating how much they were enjoying the trip, and it was just a very worthwhile experience. And that goal made it all worthwhile sitting there all bundled up in the jackets and the hats.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I absolutely tip my hat to the clubs for arranging it, because I think, with the World Cup break, the last thing you want is the lads to be sort of sitting at home, twiddling their thumbs, killing time, keeping themselves fit. I really think it's a good PR stunt as well. So yeah, I absolutely tip my hat. Okay, so obviously this week we saw the news about Bojan Majowski. Now we all know it's only newspaper talk. There's a lot of gossip, but sometimes you do wonder if there is anything substantial behind where the gossip has come from. I was speaking to Michael Grant about it earlier, and he says, look, we're going to lose him eventually, but he doesn't hope that we lose him in January. I have a feeling that we'll keep him for a season. I hope we keep him for more, but I've just got a feeling it'll only be for one season. What do you think?
I think we live in a world where, unfortunately, this is the model that we exist by. This is going to be the bread and butter of the club going forward. If they're succeeding in doing what they want, which is bringing talented gems that we polish up, we get to enjoy them for a while, and we sell them on for money. This is an example probably of where selling him, I think, in January would be a little too soon, but money does talk.
Yeah.
If it's a choice between getting the money up front now because they're willing to pay extra, I mean, it's not what I would want. It's not what I would want at all. I mean, look at Dundee United in the past when they were just littered with kids, and they sold them all off. within the space of 12, 18 months. And of course, they've got a nice big bank balance and then got relegated. So I'm not saying we're in line for relegation, of course, but I think if we have any ambitions, if we do want to win any trophies, we really want to put the club where we want. I'm sure the club is aware that we need to have these talents for not forever. That's a bit too much to ask, but we do need to have them for long enough that they can get a crack at a couple of cups. Maybe we can get into Europe and make them think twice about leaving.
Hey, we've got a stadium to pay for potentially.
Oh, well, the saga just continues, doesn't it?
It's just unbelievable, eh? Hey, all we can do, mate, is just wait and see what happens. Terry, it's great to see you, as always. Thank you. I'm going to let you crack on with your day because I know it's only just beginning. So lovely to see you and have a fabulous weekend. See you, mate.
Take care.
Bye, fella. Bye-bye. Now, can you hear me? I think you can. Okay, I have some issues with my microphone. So I am sorry about that. So I hope you can still hear me. I can see that it's moving. So I really hope you guys can still hear me. So I am sorry about the slight technical issues that we're currently having. If you can't hear me, then just drop a little note on here, but I am hoping it should be okay. Thank you for watching tonight. There are so many of you who are getting in touch and who have left so many messages on the YouTube site, which is absolutely brilliant to see. A lot of you are discussing the regeneration of the stadium, the regeneration of the area, what's happening to Union Street. That's really interesting to read. Kaiser has said, hopefully we'll have Clarkson until the end of the season. I hope so as well, mate. You guys can hear me. Let me come a little bit closer. I hope that's better. Loud and clear here. That's good. All right, so you can hear me. Good. So I am terribly sorry about that. Now, as most of you know, I love my history. I'm always banging on about it, particularly the club's history. And on this day, back in 1989, Hans Heelhuis made his debut for Aberdeen. And we all know what he did that day. He scored 2 unbelievable goals. Now, I know that I've posted this on my socials earlier today, but if you haven't seen it, this is where when Hans and I had a chat, which is on Beg's Banter, which you can watch as well, we discussed his overhead kick. And I asked him if it was natural skill or if it was natural instinct. And this is how we answered the question.
Can it be both?
Yeah, of course.
I'd like to say it's both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those type of things can't be premeditated, right? It's just
no, you don't practice the overhead kick on training. You do that maybe after the training on the pitch, in the park. But no, that was just an instinct that the ball was just a bit behind you, and then you think, okay, let's go for it. You just react. That's it.
Unbelievable. It must have felt unbelievable when you saw it go in.
It did. Obviously, it was something I'd never done before, and it's for your debut. And I think it was within 10 or 15 minutes or so in the game, pretty early in the game. So to go from not playing for a while, and that goal, it was a big relief, and more personally probably than for the club. But for me personally, if you start like that, the adjustments just go very quick. I was still living in the hotel, I remember, in the new Markleff Hotel in Aberdeen, and so everything ran really quick.
So there we are, Hans Heelhuis. You can watch that interview in its entirety. It's sitting on the Beg's Banter section on Alibeg AB TV. So feel free to watch back if you wish. We have some new shows coming very soon here on Alibeg AB TV. Ben Thornley has spoken to me, and I'm going to be bringing you his interview very soon, as well as David Priest and a host of others. So what I did during the pandemic was I jumped on a number of Zoom interviews when Zoom became a thing, and I interviewed at least 15 guys, ex-Aberdeen players, for what was effectively my blog page. But now, obviously, the blog page has evolved into what you're now watching. So I have all these old recordings. So what I'm doing is I am re-editing them. I'm repackaging them, and then I'm going to put them out as individual programs. And I'm going to do that throughout the World Cup so that we continually have content on the channel. So because I've got 15 of them, I potentially could put out one every 2 to 3 days. And then the main stand, this will come to you every Friday night at 7 o'clock, where we continue to look back on the week. We look forward to what's coming on at the football club as well. And I'll be bringing you more features on top of that. So guys, thank you so much for getting in touch. Jonathan Main has mentioned about how brilliant Hans Halehouse was. Scott W has also said what a signing Hans was, a phenomenal player. And can I tell you, an absolutely lovely bloke as well, who is now working for Atalanta in Serie A, if you were wondering what he's now doing. So guys, thank you. I hope you've enjoyed what is our debut magazine show. Episode 1, now done, all finished. Have a brilliant weekend, and watch out for the Vault shows coming next week, starting Monday night. And I will see you next Friday for episode 2 of The Main Stand, unless anything significant happens at the football club, where we will react immediately. Have a brilliant weekend. See you all again very soon. Bye for now.